Hey, for today's Mentor Text Monday, we're going into the book The Day the Babies Crawled Away by Peggy Rathmann. This is one of my all-time favorite books, mainly because of the both the poems and the silhouette art. Whenever we have a family member or a friend who is due to have a new baby, we always bring this book to the baby shower. Both my sister and I do. Because it's such a fan favorite. It's actually kind of hard to find though. So once I found a copy, I kept this last one. I love that right away in the front matter, we've got the establishment of the setting. So you see up here, the city, and then going up into the, what looks to be maybe like a park, like a carnival, picnic maybe. The silhouette art is just to die for in this. I'm always amazed at anyone who has the artistic ability to be able to do things like this. I am not an artist by any means, so I appreciate seeing things like this in other people's books. So right away, we are jumping into another book told through poems. When I'm reading this with my kids, we start talking about, we read this multiple times usually. One of the times we're reading just the words, we're noticing the poems and the rhyme scheme. The next time we go through, we might start paying attention to the skyline. So watch the sky as it goes through. Again, like last week's Chester Van Chime book, we might pay attention to when we use our punctuation. This book uses punctuation much more than the other book does. As you go through, you'll see the colors start to shift, which is telling us about time passing. Basically, the whole book is about these families that are all having a great time at this picnic or this big event out in nature, and all the babies crawl away, and this one little kid is the only one who notices. And so he has to be the hero of the day and track down and keep these babies safe. What I love about it is it kind of comes into the same concept with writing a middle grade book or a YA book, in that you can't have your protagonist, your main character, go straight to the adults and have the adults fix the story, because there's no gratification in that. There's no point. So we always want to have our adults too busy or absent so that the task falls to the kids and they have no choice. So you're seeing that same concept pulled through here in this book. Now, usually, once we've read through the actual story, we've looked through all the illustrations, then we take a little bit of time to search for different poetic devices. Bring them all back, borrowed. So you're going to start to see a lot of alliteration. You're even going to see some internal rhymes going on. And here you go towards the end of the book. Now you're getting into these beautiful colors, and he saves the day and everyone, is excited. And then he ends up being back home with his family, and he's still their little baby. So that's kind of a sweet ending to it. And coming back to that circular beginning, we come right back to the same homes that we saw at the beginning of the book. Only now this time has shifted. So through this book, we get a chance to talk about silhouette art. We get to talk about meter and rhythm to the words, because there's definitely a cadence. Shh, I say, what a day when the babies crawled away. So there's that cadence throughout everything that you're doing. We can search through other poetry devices. We can talk about when we use punctuation in poetry and when we shouldn't. Is there a set rule? We might go back and look through different poets to see how they do it. We might even take another book by Peggy Rathmann to see if she always uses punctuation, or does she change it up depending upon what the story is? Now, at the end of this, after we've gone through it multiple times, I like to do a little project towards the end of the year where we do silhouette art ourselves. So we pull out watercolors. One day we'll take some watercolor paper and we do our watercolor backgrounds so we can get this rich blend of colors. And then on a different day, we'll take black paper. I always keep a big stock of it, and the kids create their own silhouettes. Now, I have some kids that have amazing art abilities. Their pictures are going to be much more complex than what I could draw. So I always stick with easy things like trees. And so then once they've got their silhouettes done and their backgrounds done and dried, then they glue them together, and it should be the top part of your page. I usually do really large page. And then on the bottom part, they write their own rhyming poem. And we might say, hey, I want you to have alliteration. I want you to have some internal rhymes and some external rhymes. And they can be as long or as short as they want. But I want them to come back and use this book for inspiration. So we'll spend a lot of time talking about how did we get this to look exactly like a bird without having any of those typical features that we can see? What is the shape that we're going for? So we'll spend a lot of time working on this fun little project. I love that they have the eyes here. So how would we do that instead of drawing in those eyes? Could I do that with paint? Anyways, so I hope you enjoy this book. It's a really fun one, and there's so many different ways you can use it. So if you get a chance, pick up this Peggy Rathmann book, The Day the Babies Crawled Away, and I'll see you next week.